All right, let's get to some elite doming. Are you ready? Are you ready? The only panel that they released today, it might have been the only panel that they had. We are the title of the panel. We are inside Davos in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum. The title of the panel is, which 2050 do you want? Welcome in Total Horse Channel. I always give this disclaimer every year, the week of Davos. Davos doming is not for everyone. You're not going to break our hearts if you don't want to hang out. Davos doming is very elite doming. Good luck. Let's go. We will be starting the concert, though. If you don't like the panel, we will be starting the concert probably around 8:30, 8:45. At least by 8:45, I need to start the concert. You should definitely join us for the concert.
Guten Abend, mein Name ist Alois Zwing.
Good evening, I'm Alois Zwingli, member of the Foundation of the World Economic Forum. I would like to bid you a hearty welcome to this first session of this year's Open Forum. The theme of this year is to develop visions for 2050.
This is the only guy that's on translator, by the way. It goes away pretty quick.
Starts now, or today is the first day of the future.
Hey, what's up, bud? How the hell do I say this? Dreary? Welcome in, Deary.
Has been a place where we have dynamic debates. We want to bring in...
Is Brad the birthday boy? Is Brad a birthday boy? Oh, yay! Brad the birthday. Come here, Brad. Come here, Brad. We're going to pinch your cheeks. We're going to pinch your cheeks. Happy birthday, Brad. Oh, my God. Happy birthday's in the chat for Brad. Hey, Brad, happy birthday, my man. Thank you for being a domer, dude. Thank you, Brad. Welcome in, Elite Domer. Rusty, nice to see you.
All the different perspectives.
Welcome in, White Paw. Welcome back.
Discuss about them and also discuss themes which are of interest for you in the audience. We want you to participate in the debate, and therefore we are very grateful that you've taken the time to be...
You're right, Mama. Mama! The best is yet to come now that you're here.
...with us tonight and discuss with us. Over the next few days...
White Paw says, am I planning to play Gas Station Simulator again? I would think so, White Paw. I just don't know when, like, the playing the video game stuff is like, Sunday is Survival Sunday. We have a great audience that joins us just for that. I have a great time doing that. Doing other games is kind of just like whenever I have time to do them.
We will have many discussions about decisions which we will take today or not take, and what will be the impact and influence of this on our future life. As far as technology is concerned, health, nature, climate, or also the development of our societies and of all of us.
I'm interested in what they say about social media for 2050.
Therefore, I would like to thank you again that you have taken the time to be with us tonight, and I wish you to have interesting discussions this week, and I hope that you will leave Davos or stay in Davos, if you live here, with new insights, many things you have learned and seen here for the first time, and I would like to wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Sharon's here before we get into this. Sharon's here says, why don't we see Rumbot? I think Rumbot is only going to do one timed message. I don't even know. Oh, I think the message is to follow Dome After Dark. I'm not sure why we're not seeing Rumbot in the chat when it comes to welcoming new people. I mean, they might have taken that out. I'm not sure. Rumbot's a third-party robot, so I'm not exactly sure. Let's get into it. Oh, great. It's like we're watching a goddamn PowerPoint. Welcome in. David's here. Happy Davos season. It does look like a training video. God, it might be 45 minutes of this. Okay, great. Thank you, Woke. My Rumbot died. It has a new Rumbot 4.0, which is a pain to upgrade to. I'm looking forward to that. Let's put that on the notes for things to do tomorrow. Sharon's here. There's always something to do tomorrow. There's always a list from Sharon. The choices we make today on climate, technology, social justice. Oh boy, I can't wait till the social justice talk. And how we care for one another are already shaping the world we will live in by 2050. This is a conversation all about the year 2050, my friends. Good decisions could lead to more sustainability. I should read that. Good decisions could lead to more sustainability, fair and thriving future. Poor ones could deepen inequality and environmental strain. As we look ahead, we must ask ourselves, what kind of 2050 are we choosing to create? Well, I don't think it's up to you guys. I think it's up to the population. Exactly, Rum. In the year 2050, all chairs will be white.
Gentlemen, my name is Rodi Sodiri, host of the Global Business Report on Arise News. Happy to be here moderating this panel. And thank you to the World Economic Forum for doing the work for me and introducing the topic. We're very much looking forward to your thoughts as well. So we're going to begin with our panel. I think it's fair to allow everyone here briefly to pretty much tell us the 2050 that you're looking forward to. Some folks want a 2050 where there's only female presidents, or some folks want a 2050 where there's only electric cars. So just feel free to share.
Why the hell would we want that?
You want, and then we'll get into more specific questions for each of you. Then round.
Why would we want any of those?
Then we'll bring in our audience. Zainab, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
What 2050 would you like to see?
Of course. Well, I am young. I'm a woman. I'm from the so-called global south. So that should be a teaser for what's coming next.
That you're a fucking moron?
2050 do I want? And honestly, the question asks, what 2050 do I want? But I really went in and asked so many of my colleagues, friends, even a person who was in charge of running a media company to tell me what 2050 do they want so that I can tell something along the lines that resonates with most of us. And the best of the answers included a world that's liberal, that's democratic, and that's at peace with itself. And this,
not what I want.
There was a strong emphasis on a world that's at peace with itself.
What's up, Slink?
Doesn't need to really have this fight back and forth. And that
well, if you guys were stopped being such morons, it would be okay.
Only connects with the 2050 that I want. Of course, human rights at the center of it. I don't want a 2050 where we need to come back again and talk about the conversations, the conflicts, and all these problems that we are dealing with today. But also at the same time, I want a 2050 that we feel prepared. We know that across generations,
she is ugly. You're right, Fun.
Elders, children, all feel ready for what's coming next and what's happening now, and that they feel included and that they are included.
What's up, Bad Uncle Frank? Welcome in.
Idealistic, for sure, as we can see it, but that's what a young woman can do. You know, that's what they.
Well, yes,
can
yes,
put
you
forward
can. Yes, you can.
And push for it as a result of their.
Someone never got an easy bake oven as a kid. She's still upset about it.
And I would stop there.
All right, and I actually should be introducing everyone. Zainab Azizi, of course, global shaper with the World Economic Forum in Kabul. I'm going to come over to...
Global shaper? What the hell job is that? I could say that that's my job, too.
Everybody's doing great work here. Up next, of course, is Agnes Calamard, Secretary General of Amnesty International UK.
Oh, God, Amnesty International.
2050.
Well, First of all, I want us to get to 2050.
Right.
That's the first thing. And frankly, given how some of the political leaders are behaving right now, I think we do need to question whether we, as a collective, can actually reach 2050. So that's my first wish. My second wish is that we get to 2050 without annihilation of half of the world, without World War III, without more repression, more genocide, more destruction of the environment that we have seen. So that's my two big wish for 2050. Now, if we do manage to get to 2050, if we manage to have the vision to imagine a 2050 without the destruction of the world, if we have the strength to be like the 1945 generation that reimagine a world but without World War II, I would want to have a 2050 that is predicated on a relationship between human and the planet that allows for sustaining lives. I would like to see biodiversity
What's up, Aram?
I would like to see equality being maybe not a thing of the past, but certainly something that we are committed to decrease. Equality, inequality within state and between state. I would want to see a 2050 that is centered on...
I'd like to have this answer finished between 2050, please.
Human rights protection, individual rights, collective rights. I would want to see a 2050 that recognizes the ills of the past, the injustice of the past, that is predicated on the notion that those responsible for those ills, those responsible for bringing the planet to its knee, those responsible for genocide are actually paying for it in 2050. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Professor Adam Tooze is the director of the European Institute at Columbia University. Professor, what's your...
His last name is Tooze. This is going to be a very obtuse answer.
I ever thought I'd be saying this, but an autonomous and self-determining Greenland.
All right.
At this point.
Not anymore. We're going to take it now. We're going to take it now, bad haircut guy.
And all that implies of one of the two countries that I hold a passport of, because getting us there would at this point imply
what's up, Weevo Elite Domer?
In mind, which may be one of the themes of this week here at Davos, an unusually important Davos, I think, in that respect. More seriously, I think I would double down. Not that that isn't serious. I would double down on the climate and environmental balance question.
Oh, yeah, because climate change is real.
So
David's here. We got to start taking climate change more seriously, man.
And because the astonishing good news is that we're actually now in the mid-2020s in a position to get to, at least for a very large part of the problem, something like sustainability over the next, as quickly as the next 10 years. We have a chance of hitting the Dubai commitments of 2023, which is a tripling of renewable energy capacity and a doubling of energy efficiency. These are not impossible goals. And they're crucial. They're absolutely crucial. And you just see it all around. This is the warmest I've ever seen Davos. It's crazy. As we were coming up, it was like 8 degrees at Cloisters. It's mad. I mean, this is truly a
it's
thing
mad.
that is happening.
Oh
and
my
of course,
God.
this isn't a
I
problem
almost had to
principally
wear
for
only
incredibly
4
rich and
scarves.
privileged people like ourselves here. We'll all find ways.
What's up, Mitch? Welcome in.
I'm sure. But I think if you're looking out to the horizon of 2050...
Mitchie Poo. What? That's a cute name. Look at little Mitchie Poo, everybody. Welcome in, Mitchie Poo. First time inside the chat, I think, unless he came in during one of the riot watches.
Absolutely.
When we're very busy.
The developmental possibilities of Africa. Full stop. Because by 2050, I'm going to be white and very old. And the majority of young people in the world will be African. And that is a radically new scenario. I mean, Asian predominance is the historical norm. But the emergence of Africa as a densely populated center of global demographic dynamism is a radically novel phenomenon. In some ways, of course, a very good news story, but one that demands an answer to the question of development, and the energy is central to that. And we have the opportunity at this moment to make that sustainable. So that, for me, is the thing. That's my hope, I think.
Thank you. Well, I'm from Nigeria, the most populous nation in Africa, so thank you so much for mentioning that.
Your ground zero. I don't need to tell you.
I appreciate that very much. Taylor Hawkins, you, of course, are a global shaper in Sydney. Of course, here, of course, in Kabul. What's your 2050 that you want to see?
So I think my head and my heart have different answers. Yeah.
Give us both.
Well, both, I think, a future that's defined by dignity, by justice, by things that feel far out of reach at the moment, by sustainability. I think where my head sits, though, is that we need strategy fueled by hope, and hope alone won't get us where we need to be. And I feel like there's
maybe some change.
Windows that
hope and
flashed,
change.
Which is one where we didn't have access to the information we needed. Another one where information is now so freely available, but our attention is kidnapped. And so we've not. And I would say, I speak for young people, maybe in this perspective. I don't think we've both had access to the massive information and command over our attention at the same time. And so I hope for a 2050, because we can't possibly predict the challenges that we will be facing in 2050.
What's up, Stinger? Nice to see you. Welcome back.
Or anticipate. But what I hope is that we have the societal infrastructure, we have the literacy and the hygiene to know what levers to put our hands on. Because right now, that literacy, that understanding, I think is predominantly in the hands of people who are not correcting the trajectory in the way that we need it. So I hope that the unshiny conversations about policy, about infrastructure, about social connectivity become cool, become engaging, and become something that we can engage with effectively and practice the art of difficult conversations. It really deeply worries me as I'm seeing that art sort of shrivel up.
She's going to say this right now, practice the art of hard conversations, but I bet you anything, Dome prediction, at some point, she will call for censorship.
In society, so our ability to sit in the presence of people we disagree with and almost find a sense of fulfillment and joy in that. So if we can be defined by that in 2050, I think we'll be
Jeff
in a far
Mack.
better situation.
Jeff Mack with the raid, everybody. Give it up for Mr. Mack. Let's go say hi to some hooligans, and we'll be right back to Davos. Let's go say hi to hooligans. Happy freedom, everybody. Welcome in. It's great to see you.
Is yet to come.
You're right. The best is yet to come. Says that's gotta be Turbo. Thanks for the follow. It's gotta be Turbo. Ballyho. Who else we got in here? Elder Zoomer, Sinned Again, Watchman Arise, Ballyho, Watchman Arise. Jeff Mack, what did you guys watch tonight? What were you guys up to? Alistair in here. What's up, Alistair? Jeff Mack says, hope you're having a great day today. Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Mack. I hope you're having a great day, too. You're right, Prince. The best is yet to come. Now that you hit that follow button, welcome in. Animal says, Raid, give us your gold. I don't got any gold. I got crypto. Is that okay? Elder Zoomer joining us. My friends, let's take a look. Let's take a look at Jeff Mack. There he is right there, everybody. If you're not following Jeff Mack, follow Jeff Mack. Mr. Mack says, we covered the idiots storming the church and fraud in New York and the CDPAP. I don't know what that last thing is, but I think I'm going to do the church thing tomorrow. My friends, Jeff Mack just raided you into a Davos stream. Oh my God, Davos. Mr. Rotella, we're going to watch Davos? It's some of the most elite doming that we ever do throughout the year. The first panel that we're watching tonight is what they want the year 2050 to be. Show us Klaus. Klaus the cat. There he is. There's the guy. There's the guy who's the actual head of the World Economic Forum right there, my friends. Klaus the cat. But we're watching this, and then when we're done with this panel, we're watching the opening ceremonies, the opening concert. I hope you're wearing a tie. Jeff Mack, thank you for the raid. Let's go back to the Dome Theater and get back on this World Economic panel. Follow me. What happened to my... There we go.
Lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Jeff Mack with a great raid. Thank you, Mr. Mack. Happy freedom. All the hooligans, welcome in. Jump in the chat if you've never been inside the Dome. It's great to see you.
Whatever emerges.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Arjun Prakash, he's a co-founder and chief executive officer at Distill AI. And that, of course, is one of the core
This guy is definitely going to talk about
Davos,
censorship.
Around the world. Prakash, what Arjun, what 2050 do you want to see?
Yeah. As a technologist, I spend a lot of time thinking about what this
paradigm shift that AI is going to bring is going to mean for all of us. And I have a very simple hope for 2050, which is I hope we as a world can afford every single human agency and dignity. And
what does that mean?
I say that it is inevitable to me that in 2050 we will have a world where there is an abundance of systems that require intelligence. I think healthcare, human services, education is going to be abundant. It's going to be very easy to scale these systems. And what it
Trump is there on Wednesday, Aram. We'll be covering that for sure.
For economic structures that today require these systems to scale with people. And there is a, in my opinion, bad version of this, which causes disenfranchisement of a lot of people who today are part of scaling these systems. And I think there's a very optimistic version of it where we today make a commitment and a choice to redesign our economic and cultural systems to accommodate this new world and afford each person the freedom to have agency to participate in it. Because the nature of many people's jobs is going to change. And we need to bring them into the fold because I think this should be a collective move upwards. I think there are a few times in our history where there have been the opportunities to make a collective move upwards. And I genuinely wish we do not waste this opportunity.
All right, fantastic. Thank you all for your opening thoughts there.
There's that word collective again.
Zainab,
Yes.
how much of an impact should public policy have in shepherding us towards the 2050 that you want to see? With all the things you mentioned that you want to see,
yes.
How much of just public policy, and you can also tell us with what you've seen with public policy is living up to your standards?
Yes, I have seen it all, I guess. It's interesting. So I mentioned a liberal world, a democratic world, and a world at peace, and all of it combined from a top-bottom approach would center itself in public policy, because all of us are bound to each other, serving each other, or becoming one by Allah. And throughout history,
I don't like that at all.
It was either the law of nature or the law, some sort of law, some sort of policy, some sort of regulation has ruled upon us.
Hey, Aria.
We have wanted that law to be there for a purpose, to serve
what's up, Plastic Quack?
To serve our needs. But does it really meet all the needs we are putting out there to respond to? That's under question, of course. And I have a deep, from all the experiences in life.
Andy says, as vague as she is ambitious. Very nice, Andy.
Conflict, our schools being bombed, my country being cornered, and of course, many other countries being cornered around the world. You see that public policy at times doesn't really respond to the needs of people, but it's the civic engagement, is the deeply societal efforts.
Welcome in, Ronny.
Young people, and at times old or children, really bring the change. And it has happened in its simplest form that we can see or hear about these days is protests. When public policy doesn't respond to our needs, people get up, raise their voice, and they protest. And we see that everywhere. But sometimes if your country or the system that should govern you and respond to your needs doesn't respond to you but restrict you, and you cannot protest, then you go and create or establish efforts hidden or in the public that can address your needs. And as an example,
what the hell does that mean? White Paw, 5 gifted subs. That's what I'm talking about, White Paw. Thank you so much. Brad gets one, and it's Brad's birthday. Well, no, I think Brad's always been an elite domer. Who gets one? Plastic Quack gets one. Vice gets one. Animal gets one. Andy gets one. John gets one. Bad Uncle Frank. Very nice. Thank you, White Paw. Ballyhose in the chat for White Paw. People that got a gifted sub, please say thank you to White Paw.
Example is education is banned for
thank you, White Paw.
above 6th grade in Afghanistan, specifically not specifically, but mainly for young girls. But what happened, and the policy is not responding, regional efforts are not there, international law, nothing is responding, and it's a basic human right that's denied. So what is happening is youth around the world, Afghans, non-Afghans, they are putting in
You're right, Animal. The best is yet to come now that you hit that follow button.
Tools such
Let's
as
go.
AI or other, or their just basic efforts to reach out to these girls through internet, through websites, through meetings, to respond to their basic wish of getting education. And that's where I believe public policy fails.
Did she answer anything?
As humans, not all of us, some of us fail to really center it on the people of that community. That's just that's just an example closest to my heart. Yeah. But I'm sure we all have many examples, other examples.
I have no idea, Hungry Planet.
Talk about.
Thank you for that, Zainab.
Thank you for that. No one understood any of that.
About
Elite Domer Andy
invested $1.
Andy says, "Where's that sonic weapon that makes you bleed from the ears when you really need it?" Says Andy.
Your worries over the spread of
Welcome to Davos
across the world, and Zainab was just talking about protests, and we've seen a number of protests flare up in different regions as we march towards 2050. The protests seem to be matching, well, I'm going to put that to you. Do you think the protests are matching the spread of authoritarianism? And is authoritarianism...
What authoritarianism?
In your view?
Well,
where's the authoritarianism?
It's increasing. It's not just an Amnesty International finding. It's a finding of everyone who research human rights, democracy, and so on. Some of the most long-term studies have concluded that right now we're back to 1985 level in terms of how many people in the world live in so-called democracies. So we have lost some count since 1985, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, all the progress.
Welcome in, Cad. Elite Domer.
For people around the world. Authoritarianism is quick. Democracy takes a very long time to be established. Look at the United States, 12 months of Donald Trump in the White House, and it is a playbook of how authoritarian practices get embedded into every institutions, from attacks on freedom of expression, freedom of the media, academic freedom of the media, freedom of association, attacks on dissent, creation of new militarized security forces that are unbounded, the attacks on migrants, on refugees, on trans, on women, all of...
What the hell are these people fucking talking? I love watching Davos because this is how our enemies think. It's very important for us to see how our enemies think. U.S. Constitution Patriot says, Mr. Rotella, I watch you on Roku today. I have my cell. What the fuck are these retards about? It's like being at a hippie protest in the 70s. Have you never watched Davos before?
Those things have taken place.
I love Davos Week inside the dome.
Months. Can you quite grab that?
Oh my God, I know.
How long does it take to create equality?
Pretty soon we'll all have armbands.
And experience of safety, of security, all of that has been literally destroyed in 12 months. And I have many friends in the United States. I've lived there. There are many friends who are brown people, black people, and the fear that they under which they live.
Nothing to fear if you're an American citizen. Nothing to fear.
So
they also sound like pussies.
And it's not just Donald Trump. You could believe that Donald Trump has brought us to there. No. For more than 8 years, Amnesty International has been denouncing the slow but spread of authoritarian practices throughout Europe. Emergency legal decisions have become normalized. Policing has become grounded on practices and including linked to surveillance and facial recognition. That
welcome in Palms, Elite Domer.
Many abuses. attacks on non-discrimination have become very commonplace. And what do we have to say about other places, such as Iran, for instance, where thousands of people have lost their life in the last week, combating one of the most cruel authoritarian regimes. So we are all being impacted by the rise of authoritarian practices around the world. There is no easy
E333, what's up? Welcome in.
It's not just disrupting
Ex-Canadian, welcome in.
It's not just resisting Donald Trump. It is also looking at our own
Just let it happen, world. Just lay back and let it happen.
The dynamic that have made those authoritarian practices possible, the fears, the anxieties, including over AI, and how do we tackle it? I think that's the key questions. I mean, there is no doubt that it is unchecked. There is no doubt that it is everywhere right now. The key question that we need to ask ourselves is, what do we do about it? Because makes no mistake, authoritarian practices lead to very bad things for a lot of people. And when it becomes a global phenomena, it leads to, what we saw in 1940. So
they know they're losing. This little rant right here, they know they're losing. They're losing the argument now that data and X and things like this and cell phones that take pictures of everything in the world at any moment in the world, they know they're losing the narrative, so they're starting to double down and triple down.
We really need, it is incumbent upon us to
and I love it. I love the panic.
Practices wherever we are. We do not need to
That's
be
right,
in
John,
New York.
get the mace.
We do not need to be in Paris. We do not need to be in Davos. We can combat authoritarian practices in our village, in our communities, in our families, and we must combat it, because if we don't, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the destination will not be 2050. Let's be very clear. We will not get to 2050.
You raised a very great point. Yeah,
it's the end of the world! In 20 years, it's the end of the world, everybody.
Follow up on this, because you just mentioned the authoritarianism in the United States.
If it's not climate change, it's authoritarianism.
The cruel regime in Iran. Yeah. Well, what do you make of Donald Trump threatening strike? He doesn't like Iran, right? So that's one authoritarian figure taking on another regime. And then with what happened in Venezuela, does that muddle things up when one authoritarian?
Well,
exactly, Daywalker.
Everything is muddy. Everything is gray. I can fully understand why many of my friends and colleagues from Venezuela have a lot of reluctance to denounce what was an act of aggression against Venezuela. And maybe if I was Venezuelan, I will say, yeah, maybe it's not great for international law, but wow, 150 political prisoners have been released. So this is the reality. This is a messy world we live in. But do we need to sign a pact with evil in order to get something that we believe is going to be okay? And do
What's up, Habs? Welcome in.
Historical evidence of that kind of
Elite of Rahab says, I wish Trump's music would hit and he'd walk out there and slap the shit out of these bitches. Trump will be in the building of Davos on Wednesday, and that's our main event for Wednesday night, everybody.
We have just Afghanistan here. Do we have a lot of evidence where this kind of foreign aggression
She's calling us evil, Vice.
is bringing lots of betterment in the long term for people? Actually, I don't have a lot of evidence to it. So I think I'm going to resist being forced into a corner where I need to make a choice. And I want us to create and to claim the space of denouncing both. Denouncing U.S. aggression on Venezuela and denouncing the crimes against humanity that have been committed by the Maduro regime against its own people. And that he will need to be held accountable for. But that is not going to happen in a New York prison. It should happen in a Venezuelan prison, and he should render account to his people, not to God knows who, in fact, in New York.
Well said. Thank you so much. Professor,
stunning and brave.
I think I read your mind. If anyone wants to chime in on it, and you don't necessarily have to go with the question I give. If you want to, follow up on what's been said, that's fine. But Professor, go ahead. Do you want to follow up on that? Because I want to ask you about climate change and where we're going.
What's up, King Ballyho King?
What Agnes said. Yeah, please.
I mean, I know it's not very Davos, but I think at some level we actually have to talk about politics.
Right.
I mean, when you talk about public policy...
What do you mean it's not very Davos?
The politics that make public policy.
Right.
When we talk about the long struggle for various types of rights in the United States, we have to talk about the political forces that conducted that struggle. And
You're right, White Pod. The best is yet to come now that he hit that follow button. Welcome over.
Opponents are.
Did you see my video on Rotella Games telling you that all that stuff is going to be on this channel right now? I assume that's why you're here.
And though I take it, I think your point is right about the fragility of rights regimes and how quickly they can be broken. They're a little bit like...
You're right, wench. The best is yet to come now that you hit that follow button. Welcome in. Let's go.
It takes a while to grow, and then you can break it. But we shouldn't underestimate the extraordinary persistence with which right-wing politics in the United States...
I forgot the green screen for Arya. Give me 1 second. I do want to... Believe it or not. Yes, we're that fancy in the Dome. Arya gets her own green screen. And this is like, this is some of my favorite content to watch inside the Dome. It might not be the most thrilling, but I love it.
Since the civil rights movement of the 1960s, which is the truly convulsive upheaval in American democracy that still is working its way through our society today, right from that moment onwards, a counter-movement began that is now finding its success. And we are hosting them here, and we are going to sit with them, and they are the legitimate and bona fide heirs of that generation, including the president himself and his family. And the very least we can do is speak openly about the history of the Klan and the history of the lynching and the history of Jim Crow and the history of segregationism and its apologists.
We hear about it all the time.
The 90s and the 2000s, who are deep inside the Republican Party. And I say this as a Democrat who lives in a highly segregated city, so this is not just about party politics. Racism in America can't be reduced to that. But we need to be clear about who it is has been trying to make change. Yeah. And who it is who's been trying to do the opposite and to undo it. And those cultures of violence...
Let's deport this guy.
They come from somewhere. Anyone who's spent any time in America knows that people have reason to fear the police. Yeah. They have reason to fear the police. As a white guy, I've never felt this before. But since I've lived in the United States, I've known, at least around the edges, what it means to fear people in uniform. Because it's capricious,
fucking moron.
And it's hyper-masculine, and it's deliberately
violent. Oh my God, anything but masculinity.
Abusive, and it's simply a fact that we have lived with in the United States forever. Right? So at that level, this isn't new, but what's radical about it is just how uninhibited, how empowered, how shameless it is, and how little resistance, frankly, there has been.
E333 invested $10.
Oh, thank you, E333. Dare I say, to the cause, E333. Thank you for that $10 Dome investment. I appreciate that.
The big hope are the midterm elections in November, and everyone has just got their fingers crossed.
Thank you, E333.
And they will deliver a giant, crushing rejection, right? Because American society has an
Okay, horrible first impression from whoever the heck this king of built bong tong is. Banned forever.
The majority of decent people who, even if they are conservative, hate the sight of giant, overgrown bully boy men hurling women to the ground and abusing children. Like it isn't popular. It's one of the weird things about it. It's not actually a proper authoritarian populism in that sense. It's quite sectional. It's very,
first impressions very important inside the Dome.
But yeah, let's talk about climate. Yes. Do these people also deny the climate? Yes, they do. In a staggering way.
Climate change is not real.
The same qualities, right?
It's not real.
This time round, they haven't just politely withdrawn from the Paris Accords, which is Trump verse 1, right? Very gradually. He says cheerio, and then finally they exit in 2020. No, this time round, they've left every single organisation, including the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which America brought into being under a conservative American president in the late 1980s.
God bless America.
And then in the Maritime Organization, we know where there was an effort to clean up one of the great hard-to-abate sectors, which is maritime transport. We know they used literally mafioso methods of going into the negotiations.
Hey, what's up, Quantum Logic? Welcome in.
Countries and threatening them with personal sanctions, which is ruinous to anyone who moves around the world, right? Because it basically means you lose access to your bank, to your phone. You can't function, and they threatened...
Oh, you mean like what they did to President Trump and what they do and continue to do to a lot of Republican influencers? Debank them? Is that what you're talking about, pussy pants?
Representatives of the smallest states so as to create a blocking veto minority that prevented us from moving rapidly towards the decarbonisation of shipping, where we actually had WEF-organised, let's be clear, Maersk, WEF-organised first mover business groups were pushing that. That has been one of the projects of this organisation. And this American government that we are hosting, who has a house on the promenade celebrating 250 years of God knows what, those people deliberately sabotaged these negotiations.
We're celebrating 250 years of our country being a country. We're celebrating 250 years of freedom. We're celebrating 250 years of, believe it or not, democracy. God, these people hate us so much.
We are still going to sit with them. I'm going to chair a meeting with Lutnick tomorrow afternoon.
We must beat them.
I am going to do my job as chair, but we should be clear about who it is we're dealing with. And they are taking those tactics of intimidation and
Lutnick's going to eat this guy up
into the climate space.
Yeah, because there is no climate change.
So much.
There's no such thing as climate change.
Very much
man-made climate change.
Of the panel. Taylor, I'm going to come to Australia.
Kara says 250 years of go fuck yourself. That's what I'm talking about, Kara.
You're also, working on a lot of youth initiatives as far as the future of youth is concerned. I do want to ask you about the policy in Australia where under 16s are banned from social media. Moving forward to 2050, is that, they're saying they're doing it because they're protecting the youth.
What's up, Slugger?
That's where your work is. How are you viewing that dynamic?
What?
Feel free to be as passionate as the rest of our panelists.
No, I have to say it's a really good sign when you're on a panel and you get so enthralled with what someone else is saying that you lose all comprehension for the fact that you're about to have to talk. Look, I think I request the grace of the room as I navigate what, at least in Australia, is a very political question, as someone who runs a non-partisan organisation. So humour me as I do some acrobatics. Look, I think that the
just talk
social media ban policy in Australia is an excellent example of long-termist looking policy that maybe fails to look at the broader system. Now, if we break that down into three elements, you can think participation, policy, and people. So from a participation perspective, it maybe wasn't best practice the way that it was done. It was moved through incredibly quickly from a lot of the youth networks that I work with. They didn't feel adequately engaged, and given that it is a youth-centered policy, that's a fascinating feature of this policy that's come to be. And the impact of that is not just on the outcome and the policy itself, which I'll get to in a second, but it erodes a sense of engagement and that civic infrastructure that we've spoken about. And I think that comes back to what are the things that we watch silently and allow to happen. Because as an Australian who feels way off in the corner away from the US, I've been trying to take it very seriously to say, what of what I'm seeing over here do I see in small doses in my own country? And it's a fascinating thing to think about. The second thing that I would say is on the policy itself. Do we need to get young people off social media? I would say unequivocally yes. I don't have an objection to that concept because I imagine in 2050...
They can't handle the message getting to them.
Drugs. I don't know many deeply happy, joyful and fulfilled people who spend a large amount of time on social media. That being said, is it a systemically viewing policy that's looking at all of the factors to keeping someone safe online, which is the skills, your ability to interpret mis and disinformation, your ability to...
here comes the censorship that I predicted.
When something damaging does happen online. And as a woman who spent enough time on the internet, I can tell you, it's probably, if you spend time on the internet for the duration of your life, at some point you will see something that is damaging to you psychologically in one way or another. And we need the skills, we need the relationships, we need the support networks in order to address that.
The support network. Oh my God, I saw something on my phone that I need support. Are you kidding me?
That policy in isolation, without the systems view, does not deliver on that. I have hopes and ambitions that we can build that around it, but it's an interesting, maybe hamstringing of the policy as it stands. And then you've got to look at the people factor.
I'm looking forward to this fight.
Without the systemic support, the blame game will inevitably start to happen. And so what we need to be doing is trying to set ourselves up for success from the beginning, thinking about who's involved in this decision-making process. It's a heartbreaking reality that democracy done well is slow, but it is that upfront investment for long-term payoff, and it comes back to the central truth of its short-termism is the drug. We want the payoff, we want it quick, and we go for the sugar hit immediately, but what we really need to do is invest in the kind of robust policy and processes that can stand the test of time and be safeguarded against some of the frightening things on our horizon.
Thank you so much for that, Taylor. Arjun, let me...
Chapeau.
Oh my God. I hate this guy. I hate the guy.
I wanted to ask you about artificial intelligence and some worries about a divide that is growing. I mean, your company, Distill, you're assisting enterprise, giving enterprise solutions to companies for artificial intelligence. And my question to you is, do you share in that worry with respect to inequality, to where, as we move forward to 2050, those who have the resources and have access to AI will be far...
This is an AI guy. This guy's gonna... I mean, come on, it's easy to know what this guy's going to talk about. It's Davos. He's an AI guy. This guy's going to talk about the coming use of AI to find and delete misinformation and disinformation, and how we can censor people in the future.
Pacing those that don't have the resources to access that. What are your thoughts there?
In other words, trying to put me out of a job.
Let me just start by saying something that I think hopefully most of us can agree with. Technology and AI is an amplifier of a set of intents and culture we choose to program it with. It's not AI making decisions, it is a set of values we as a society choose to align the system with. And I think that fundamentally we need to decide what are the incentives we want to set up for society in pursuit of this new model in the lead up to 2050. I think that, again, this requires long-term thinking. There is a lot of short-termism right now, right? Like CEOs are optimizing for the next quarter. There's a temptation to optimize for the next election. And what the moment calls for is some statesmanship and long-term thinking to design what are the policies and systems we want that actually can perpetuate. And once we program the AI with it, it's going to amplify that. If we don't change the incentive structure that had been designed for the last few decades with a certain economic model, you're going to end up with concentration of wealth. More importantly, you're going to end up with concentration of agency, because fewer people are going to make most of the decisions that get amplified 10x larger by these systems. Things that used to take 5 years now can happen in 6 months with AI. So there is a need for conscientious long-term thinking, which is I think a moment that is here and now, and not a problem we can afford to kick the can down the road 5-10 years. That's
Stream shares to the cast.
Thank you so much for that. All right, so those are the specific questions. Now we're going to go, round robin. We've got a few more minutes where we get our audience involved.
My plan is to stick with this panel until about 8:45, and then we're going to start today's opening ceremonies from Davos.
The World Economic Forum began. WEF did, here in Davos, WEF did release a report on global risks based on surveys. It had like a top 10 or a top 20. The number one, based on surveys, the risk that, respondents, indicated was geopolitical tensions, right? And we've touched on that already. But within that top 10 was misinformation and disinformation.
You're welcome.
And I guess, how your worldview is shaped, in addition to your education, background, and so on, is the information that you're filtering in. And there is a worry that as we get closer to 2050, misinformation and disinformation is just, it's gathering steam. So my question
yes,
to the
it
panel,
is.
just
yes, it is. Be
is how
afraid.
to combat
Be
that.
very
Even with
afraid.
AI and the deep fakes and so on and so forth, this stuff is getting more complex, and social media also has a role in that as well. So Zainab, how do you think we can effectively combat misinformation?
Get the padded room ready, Sam.
As it spreads.
It's super important. It's at the heart of awareness and knowledge to understand what misinformation and disinformation is. And it's also relatively important to touch upon the fact that how misinformation and disinformation can be categorized for certain set of information in a specific region is not the same or not explained the same way to another region. So there's always that the different standards sit around how we defined these terms or any other term. But
another nothing answer from this chick.
Ground realities are usually so different than what we see on our screens. And of course, we are so used to seeing our screens that we forget to touch and reach out to people who are on the ground, who are living the life. I have lived under conflict. I have been refugee in several countries. And people-to-people relations.
Alistair says, so funny how none of these effing people are Americans, but have so much to say about America. Strong first comment, Alistair. Welcome to the Dome. Nice to meet you. Everybody say ballyho to Alistair.
It has always been extremely different than what they portrayed into words, either newspaper back in the day or now, I'm not too old though, or now the social media.
That sounds ageist.
That you would see people come, you would see someone new come to you, talk to you with a prejudgment of a situation, not trying to understand you, but just to impose their ideal reality in their head on you. And that judgment is created through not knowing really what misinformation and disinformation is, and just reading the text or the words in front of you and following through, oh, okay, this is correct. There are things, there are contexts. Without having context, you cannot really understand the situation. So,
which is exactly why we know that climate change is not real.
Fight back the misinformation or disinformation in any region in the world.
What they mean is their information.
Several actions. One, to engage those local voices into these global platforms that we are all seeing. If you don't have the local voices, if you really don't understand what the ground living lifestyle is, let alone knowing in general what the tradition or what the ruling authority there is, you cannot really understand the difference between the different subjective opinions that you can have towards a story. Let's say in a village far, I would give examples for my country because that's where I come from, and I don't feel okay with giving examples from other countries. That would be me questioning myself first.
Got it,
so
yeah.
In villages in my country, there are some traditional norms and systems that allow people to respect elders with their decisions and listen to them. And that's basically a transaction created in that society. Governments changed, interventions happened, so much happened, war happened, but that transaction between the elders and its community, or that tradition or naturally established relationship between that community is always there. It's there till today. When governments fell, people didn't have anyone to go to, or an office or an authority to go to get a letter for their employment or anything else. And what they would do is rely on that elder of the community that they had selected to get their words and go present that to another village or wherever they wanted to go.
She doesn't have one, Florida Pats.
But when it comes to international understanding of those ground realities, we think that these people don't like systems, whereas they have been felt throughout history, and they don't feel that anyone responded to their needs, so that any system that was brought upon them, that was imposed on them, was able to sustain itself. So when you don't understand these small nuances around someone's understanding of life, which has been truly different from you, everyone in this room is truly, truly privileged. I myself am very privileged. I wish instead of me there was a woman from a country who is under conflict, who has been stripped of all their life, who has lost family, sitting here and talking to you guys instead of me.
We could have easily done that.
One day in any platform like
Why
Davos,
didn't you say
so
that you would want that instead of you? You could have made that happen right now.
Someone going through all this process and formality to explain these nuances around stories, culture, and inclusion, or any other thing that we want to raise. So that's where we can fight misinformation and disinformation, to create context, to understand.
Did she say anything?
To not come with a prejudgment or think that what we have been taught through academia or any platform is correct for the whole world. It's not. You have to listen to the people. If it's war, if it's anything, just those people, if they say we don't want your system, that's their decision. Right. So you cannot impose.
Guess what? We don't want the Davos system. Thanks a lot. Go fuck yourselves.
Your reality on them. And that's where the whole divide increases if you keep imposing, if the one region of the world keeps imposing on the rest of the world.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was great.
I have to tell you, I had a debate with a family member who
cut the mic, says John.
Amnesty data I was giving them about the issues going on in Venezuela, about the Maduro regime. So I really want to throw this to you. How do if I'm talking to somebody who's educated and has doesn't believe data I'm giving them, how do we combat misinformation and disinformation? I guess how do we do this?
Education, I think.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Certainly, key literacy on apprehending what people can.
Everyone on that stage has way too much education.
Read on social media and internet, and I think in many curriculum right now it is starting. So I'm hoping that there will be, at least in two generations from now, I think we will have people far better able to tackle what they are reading on social media. Look,
are you sure?
We need
because the kids are morons more than us.
And it means the regulation of the business model of social media. The notion that some hateful information, some kind of information gets much more spread and circulation because they are more likely to resonate in some part of the people's brain. I mean, that is what needs to be tackled. It is the entire business model of the big tech companies that we need to be able to challenge. That can be done through better regulation. We did attempt to do that in Europe through the AI Act that was adopted last year, and for the last 12 months,
how's that going for you?
The President of the United States has waged a war against the regulation of social media and the regulation of AI. Why? Because of these, the kind of techno state that he's trying to
why? Because it takes away people's freedom of speech.
Establish. So we always go back to the necessity of public policies and governments being prepared to enact policy for the betterment of people.
The social media censorship fight and arresting people for social media posts is going to be a major factor in our lives, and I am very excited to see what we do with it. I think we win in the end easily with that. I think I just saw someone come in. Silver Wizard, welcome and nice to see you.
For the sake of few profit and greed, in fact, of people. Why do we need trillionaires in this world? Can I ask? Do we need trillionaires? We don't even need billionaires, frankly. So, I mean, that
okay, and what are you going to do with them?
You're talking about
like, what are you talking about?
Disinformation. We need to tackle media ownership. Over the last 10 years or so, we've gotten to a process of heavy concentration of, I'm not talking about social media, I'm talking about actual media ownership by a fewer number of people. That needs to be tackled through public policies and better regulation.
Can we ask Domebot if Elon is going to be here this year? Sharon's here.
Relations. Same with the politicization of media and the fact that more political or people with a political agenda are using their ownership of media to be pushing for such an agenda. That should be tackled as well, in the name of, first of all, our rights to...
This is her talking about taking Twitter away from Elon Musk.
...of expression and freedom of information, the fight against censorship. All of those things matter. But ultimately, we need to be able to resist. We need to be able to say no. We need to be able to have elected officials who are prepared to fight the fight, including against very powerful corporate actors. You know, it's an integrated whole. We are not going to just pick disinformation and make it separated from every other ills that we are confronting at the moment with respect to authoritarianism. Just fighting that won't bring us to away from extinction and to the annihilation that some leaders are so keen for us to get into.
Let's tell you something. Rumble does pay me to read these things, my friends, so sit back and enjoy. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits hard, the smooth, the medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Oh, God, I hate that part of the ad. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. All right, that was all right. All right. What do you think we made on that? $2.02. Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that. You might be wondering, Mr. Rotella, why do you read these for $2.02? Because by the end of the month, usually they add up to like $100 or more dollars. That's why. Let's go back to the Dome Theater.
Go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Who was the closest domer that got it right?
Professor, I mean, climate is an issue that has, there's a big information war going on there with a lot of folks that deny
there is no climate change.
And so on and so forth.
Man-made climate change.
I'm just using that as an example, but generally, how do you think we should approach this fight against misinformation and disinformation?
Maybe I might speak instead as an educator.
Right, as a professor, yeah.
As a
well, everybody shut up and listen to this guy.
I have to say, I feel more uncertain about what I'm doing and what the rationale of what I'm doing is than ever before in my career.
Because you suck.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember pencil and paper. Right. I vividly remember the advent of personal computers, the laptop, the internet. These were all huge shocks and overwhelmingly positive. And I still cling to the idea that AI also, in some senses, is overwhelmingly positive. It enables us to do things we just simply couldn't comprehend before.
Make great thumbnails.
I have colleagues who are deep skeptics, who want just bans, blanket bans on AI and humanities education. I'm not in that position. But I use it every day myself. In fact, I have a kind of routine of forcing myself to ask crazy questions from, my high-end AI, which I couldn't possibly answer myself in reasonable time. And yet it gives me a kind of B+ answer to a crazy question right now. And that's amazing. I can get like several B+ answers to really wacky questions. That I actually have guilt because, you know, you couldn't ask a human to answer these questions back to back, and my machine just runs away like a kind of eager dog and comes back with these answers. So for somebody like me who just loves exotic knowledge, this is a huge gift. I mean, really, chapeau, it's amazing. But what is it that we are doing? And
what are some of these questions?
You said education's part of the solution. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what is it? And I'm increasingly, I love the village example. Of course, it doesn't generalize. The problem is we don't live in villages anymore. We live in these gigantic communities of hundreds of millions.
What's up, Ron Cargo Belly Hope?
But increasingly few. Right? And urbanization is the trend we've passed when we can, the majority of people live in urban or suburban spaces now worldwide. And I'm only saying that because in the end, I end up thinking again and again that there is something about the embodiment of knowledge. There is something about the
Woke says he must be asking, what is a woman? Wokeopotamus. Always a funny chatter.
Interpersonal, which is the only really good answer to this question. And then and so one of the questions as an educator, it's a really old-fashioned question. I actually start asking myself is, what is it that I want my students to remember? Not to know, but to remember, to take into their bodies and keep there. Because that's going to be the prompting bit of them. That's the bootstrap. Those are the instincts. That's the taste, the creativity.
This is his go-to story at all cocktail events. Well, you know, I always want, it's not what my students know, it's what my students remember. And then he goes into this diatribe. And everyone sits there, oh, yes, they're fixing their glasses. Oh, yes.
Of course, in due course, AI will do this as well. But it seems to me that that's one thing that we really need to focus on in a way that I never thought I would be emphasizing. I've always been somebody who fled from memory practice. Like, why would you do that? You can just look it up. You're very good at Googling. Like, why? But I think with AI, the challenge is actually to know what we want inside ourselves. And then I think the other thing we presumably have to cultivate, this is the economist in me talking, is this has got to be demand-driven. If we're going to keep truth in circulation, people are going to have to want it. Mm-hmm. They are really...
Which is exactly why we're winning, because we're telling the truth and Davos is not.
You're going to have to want it. And if the fake stuff and the artificial stuff and the slop is no longer slop but cordon bleu, let alone like 3 Michelin, or just McDonald's, if that's the way your mind goes, right? We don't have a chance. So we're going to have like some motivations for actually desiring truth.
Sedan, exactly.
Even if it's difficult to swallow, even if it's somebody else's truth that might actually turn out to be better than you know. And those seem to me these chairs are lethal. If I actually fall over and die, like first day, it's not a conspiracy, it's the chair. But those two things seem to me to be the new kind of educational purpose for me. It's like, A, what is it you want to know? Like really want to have, and then where are you going to put it? You're going to put it inside yourself and keep it there. So maybe learning and teaching now has to be a bit more like learning a language, in the way that a language remaps your brain, in the way that it becomes part of who you are and how you express yourself. The fact that we can all communicate in English up here, after all, is a flipping miracle. Right. And like maybe that's where we need to think about the deep answers to this question. But as I say, like I feel more confounded than ever before in my life on this issue.
Taylor.
Thanks to you and your mind-bending things you do.
Thank you, Professor. Taylor, yeah, I mean, earlier you were talking about youth and them staying off social media. So what's your take on misinformation?
So I think, as fourth speaker, just before the technical expert, I'll try and come at it from maybe building off what you just shared, which is I think the mis and disinformation is a rampant virus in a weakened system. Yeah. And so I think what we also need to think about is what is it within ourselves that makes us so ready to grab the polarizing slop or cordon bleu that we're presented with. And that's the hard internal work that must be met with systemic policy solutions and technical...
They never thought that people would ever listen to people on the internet. But they're not dressed in suits. But they're not the evening news. We control the news. We control the networks. They let the internet get away from them, and they can't put it back in the bottle.
Responsibility and
The only way that they can. The only way that they can is to completely turn it off. You're right, Chef Boy. The best is yet to come. Now that you hit that follow button, welcome in. The only way that they can do it is to turn it off completely, and I don't think that they can get away with that.
bunch of other things. But I think we need to do the hard and uncomfortable thing of looking within ourselves and seeing what has this society cooked within myself that makes me so ready to believe that thing that makes me, like it gives you that feeling that is kind of addictive. And I've gotten myself trapped in that before. The algorithm has gotten me because it's feeding me that exact flavor of what I want that makes me feel like I'm right and that person that I want to argue with is wrong. And so it is the responsibility. And I'm so hesitant because I think the climate movement has really suffered from this. The whole individuals need to recycle and that's how you'll save the planet. But I do think that on this mis and disinformation piece, there is a huge responsibility that we need to have to keep our internal world in check and sort of the internal system that we're operating on at a place where we don't seek the polarization and where we reject the algorithm serving that up to us. But
yes, be part of the Borg. Don't think for yourself. Be part of the Borg.
Talking with misinformation, disinformation, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. How we combat this with AI playing such a big role and going forward to 2050.
So I will say that I have a tendency to try to model the world in systems. It has a beautiful quality of generalizability and scalability. And on this matter of misinformation, the system that scales, in my opinion, is accountability. I think fundamentally any technology.
Well, I guess you guys are safe there. Pam Bondi's on the case.
Reflecting the architect and creator of the system. And I don't just mean the model creator. I mean, once you have a model, you give it a set of system prompts, so you give it some instructions. You're creating a system. Ultimately, it's just scalable intelligence at the end of the day. And people need to be accountable for.
Trust the Pam. That's right, Ronnie.
Simple.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Be accountable for what they create. Intelligence at the end of the day. And people need to be accountable for what they create. It's that simple. There are two versions of this I can give example of. I think the social media world didn't have that accountability. I think the platforms and the creators were generally shielded from the accountability for various reasons. And I think it led to this almost
it's called free speech
propagation of mass reach and speed combined with information that people didn't take accountability of. And I think there are some serious consequences to that we all see. And I don't think we should do that with AI. I think systems that people create, institutions create, countries create, should take accountability for what they do. I don't think it's the agent that's responsible. It's the legal entity or the human that created that is accountable. And I think we don't think about it enough that way. That's my point of view on it. I do also want to just address something you said that I thought was very, and you very eloquently put the role of education in it. I think increasingly the shift that's happening is one from where people are doing work to one where people are describing what the work needs to be done as.
Yes.
And we are all moving towards a world. You can pick the time horizon, but over some
I like
time,
that animal.
the opportunity is for everybody to be an architect. And I think the most important thing that I think we can learn in the educational system is how to describe a system and I love the liberal arts educational system for that reason. It teaches you how to think, it teaches you how to describe. I think physics is a beautiful modeling of the natural world. I think philosophy is a beautiful modeling of the societal world. And I do think that is a very important thing we need to learn to architect a world that we all are proud of.
All right. Thank you so much.
I want to get into the actual opening ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems. If we have some time at the end of the stream, we'll go back to that. But I want to make sure that we can watch the opening ceremony in full. This is going to be kind of like a concert, it looks like. Something like that. We will be watching Davos not all day like we are today. Not all stream like we are today, but I would like to watch at least a panel a day. Brad says finally. This guy, even on his birthday. I do want to watch at least a panel a day if we can, and then maybe on the weekend. I mean, I got to do some premium content. Maybe we put together all the world leaders that are going to be there, and I can do like a 5-hour stream on Davos over the weekend or something. We'll see. We'll see what Davos releases. That was the only video that they released today from the panels. So when we get back, we got the opening ceremonies of Davos. We'll be right back after this musical break.